Have you ever had someone so entitled? They thought they could control not just your house, not just your land, but an entire county. Well, let me tell you about the time an HOA Karen called 911 on me because I refused to leave my own cabin by the lake, only to find out that I wasn't trespassing at all. I actually owned the whole county. I had been working in the city for years, grinding away at a job that barely let me breathe. So, when my grandfather passed away and left me his old lakeside cabin, I thought it was the perfect chance to escape. The cabin wasn't huge, but it was everything I needed, sitting on the edge of a sparkling blue lake, surrounded by towering pines, with nothing but birdsong to wake me up in the morning. My grandfather had always said, "This land will take care of you if you respect it." I never realized just how much truth was in that statement. It was my third week staying at the cabin when she showed up. A woman in a neon yellow shirt and a sharp bob haircut marched right up to the porch, hands on her hips, glaring at me like I had stolen her car. "You can't be here," she barked. "This cabin is on HOA property, and you're trespassing." I looked up from my coffee, totally confused. This is my place. My grandfather left it to me." She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "No, this whole area falls under the jurisdiction of the Echo Shores HOA, and we don't allow squatters." I laughed, thinking she was joking, but her face told me otherwise. The next day, caution tape was strung across my porch. She had actually put up signs that read HOA property, no entry. I tore them down and sat back in my rocking chair, enjoying a plate of ribs with my dog at my feet. That's when I heard her screech again. "You can't ignore me. I'll call the county sheriff if you don't pack up and leave." "Go ahead," I said calmly, sipping my sweet tea. She didn't hesitate. She whipped out her phone and dialed 911. 15 minutes later, the sheriff's deputies pulled up. Karen ran to them like she was the victim of a crime. "Arrest him. He's trespassing. He's violating HOA code," she shrieked, pointing at me like I was public enemy number one. The deputies walked up to me. "Sir, can we see proof of ownership of this property?" "Of course," I said, pulling out the deed I kept in a folder inside the cabin. My grandfather had always been meticulous with paperwork. But here's the twist: when the deputies read the documents, their eyebrows shot up. "Ma'am," one of them said to Karen, "this cabin isn't just on private property. According to these records, this land isn't under your HOA at all." Karen's face went red. "That's impossible. The HOA governs this entire lake." The deputy shook his head. "No, ma'am. This deed states that not only does he own the cabin, but the boundaries extend to the entire county. Land grant dating back to 1898. Karen's jaw nearly hit the ground. "What do you mean, the entire county?" The deputy looked back at me. "Sir, according to this, your grandfather's estate owns all the undeveloped land in Echo County. The HOA doesn't have authority here." I leaned back in my chair, grinning. Suddenly, everything my grandfather had hinted at made sense. He used to joke, "One day, you'll realize just how much this place belongs to us." Karen was furious. She stomped her foot. "No, that can't be. I run the HOA. I make the rules." "Not here. You don't," I said. "Turns out, this entire county is mine. You've been playing landlord on someone else's land." She exploded, shouting at the deputies, demanding they fix this mistake. "Ma'am," one deputy finally said, clearly fed up, "if you continue making false claims, you could be charged with harassment. This man has every right to be here." Karen's shrill voice echoed across the lake. "I own the county?" The deputies just sighed. "No, ma'am. He does." News traveled fast. Within a week, half the HOA board resigned after realizing they'd been enforcing rules on land they didn't even control. Homeowners started questioning the legitimacy of every HOA fee they'd ever paid. Karen, of course, tried to cling to power, threatening lawsuits and screaming at anyone who dared challenge her. But with the county records backing me up, she had no ground to stand on. Eventually, the HOA dissolved, and for the first time in decades, people around the lake felt free. No more ridiculous fines for mailbox colors. No more letters about grass being half an inch too tall. I stayed at the cabin, rebuilding it piece by piece, making it not just a retreat but a home. Sometimes I'd sit on the porch with my dog at my feet, thinking about how close I came to being bullied off land that was rightfully mine. And sometimes I'd see Karen drive by, glaring at me like I had stolen her crown. But the truth was undeniable. She tried to control a county that never belonged to her. And thanks to my grandfather's foresight, I had the last laugh. So, if you ever find yourself up against an entitled HOA Karen, remember this: sometimes the little cabin by the lake holds more power than the loudest voice in the neighborhood, because at the end of the day, Property deeds don't lie. And in my case, it turned out I didn't just own a cabin. I owned the whole county.